I spent 70 years chasing something that was never going to make me happy. I'm 82 now, and I can tell you this. Everything you think you know about success is probably wrong. Society taught us a script. Work hard, climb higher, make more money, and then, supposedly, life begins. But here's what nobody tells you. That script is a trap. And by the time you realize it, you've already sacrificed the only things that actually mattered. I'm not here to impress you. I don't need that anymore. I'm here because I'm running out of time, and you're not. And if I can save even one person from making the choices I made, then maybe these last years will count for something. I spent decades building a life that looked perfect from the outside, while feeling completely empty on the inside. I want to tell you how that happened, why it happens to so many of us, and what you can do differently before it's too late for you. If you want more stories like this, stories that cut through the noise and tell you what actually matters, subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't regret it. But before I tell you what finally woke me up, you need to understand how convincing the lie was, how easy it is to sleepwalk through your own life, how you can lose decades without even noticing they're gone. From the outside, my life worked. I had the career, the house, the respect. People congratulated me at dinners. My name was on things. I was successful. Awards on the wall, a corner office, the kind of salary that made my parents proud. I checked every box society told me to check, and for years, I believed that meant I was winning. But here's what they didn't see. I'd come home to silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that reminds you how alone you are. The kind that sits heavy in your chest. I'd sit in my office at night, blue light from the computer screen reflecting off the window, and I'd feel nothing. Just tired. Just empty. The coffee on my desk would go cold while I stared at emails that didn't matter, answering questions from people I didn't care about, working toward goals that had stopped meaning anything years ago. I'd look at the clock. 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m., and I'd tell myself I was building something, that this sacrifice was temporary, that someday I'd reap the rewards of all this work. But someday never came. The rewards never felt like rewards. They just felt like new obligations. I wasn't living. I was going through the motions. And the scariest part? I didn't even notice. I thought this was what life was supposed to feel like at my age. Numb. Functional. Waiting. I thought everyone felt this way. That the excitement was for young people. And us older folks just had to push through until retirement. Until someday. There's that word again. Someday. Then one afternoon, everything changed. I was in a meeting talking about quarterly projections or some other forgettable topic when my chest tightened. Not dramatically. Just enough to make me pause. My left arm tingled. The room tilted slightly like I'd stood up too fast. I could hear my colleague still talking, but his voice sounded distant, muffled, like I was underwater. I excused myself, tried to act normal, walked to my car with my hand pressed against my chest. I excused myself, drove to the hospital, and sat in a paper gown under fluorescent lights while a doctor half my age told me I'd had a minor cardiac event. A warning shot, he called it. He said I was lucky, that it could have been much worse. He used words like stress and lifestyle and changes needed. I nodded. I thanked him. I drove home in silence, gripping the steering wheel tighter than necessary. And that's when I realized the lie I'd been living, not in some dramatic revelation, just a quiet understanding that settled in my bones during that drive home. I'd been trading my life for things that didn't matter, and I'd been doing it for so long, I'd forgotten there was any other way to live. The biggest lie we tell ourselves isn't that we're invincible. It's simpler than that. It's 3 words. I have time. We say it about everything. I'll take that trip after the next promotion. I'll call my brother when things calm down. I'll spend more time with my kids once they're older. I'll read that book, learn that language, tell that person I love them. All of it. Someday. Someday when I have time. Someday when I'm ready. Someday when life is less busy. But here's the truth. The goalposts keep moving. You get the promotion, and suddenly there's another one to chase. You hit your revenue target and they raise it. The kids grow up, and you realize you missed it while you were in meetings. Things never calm down. Life doesn't get less busy. It just ends. And all those some days you were counting on, they never come. They're not real. They're a mirage we create to justify putting off what scares us, or what we don't think we deserve yet. I told myself for 20 years I'd write a book. I had notebooks full of ideas, paragraphs scribbled on napkins, but I was always too busy, too tired. I'd write it when I retired, when I had time. I'm 82 now. The notebooks are in a box in my closet. I never wrote the book. Not because I didn't have time, because I didn't make it a priority, because I kept choosing other things, urgent things, important things, things that meant nothing in the end. Let me ask you something. What are you waiting for? What have you been putting off because you think you'll have time later? Is it a conversation you need to have? A place you want to see? A skill you want to learn? A person you want to reconnect with? Hold that thought, because I want to tell you about my friend Paul. Paul worked with me for 23 years. Good man. Funny, smart, the kind of guy who remembered everyone's birthday. He always talked about this cabin he was going to build in Montana. He had the land. He bought it in his 40s. He had the plans. Blueprints rolled up in a tube in his office. He'd show me sketches on napkins during lunch, describing the porch, the view, the fireplace. When I retire, he'd say, when I have time. He'd light up talking about it. You could see him there, in his mind, living that life he was building toward. He retired at 67. We threw him a party, gave him a fishing rod and a card signed by everyone. 3 months later, I got a call from his daughter. Cancer. Aggressive. Stage 4. By the time they caught it, it was everywhere. He lasted 6 weeks. I visited him twice in the hospital. He looked small in that bed. Tired. He didn't talk much. But once he looked at me and said, I should have built the cabin. That was it. Just that. At the funeral, his daughter stood up and said something I'll never forget. She said, Dad never built his cabin, but he spent 30 years talking about it. He had the land. He had the money. He just never had the time, or thought he didn't. Her voice cracked on that last part. The room was silent. That sentence followed me home. I heard it in my car, in my bedroom, in every quiet moment for weeks, because I had my own cabin, not a real one. My version was all the things I'd put off, the conversations I never had, the trips I never took, the time I never gave, the experiences I postponed until some imaginary future when everything would be perfect, and I'd finally be ready. And suddenly, sitting in that hospital gown, then at Paul's funeral, I realized I was doing the same thing Paul did. I was living in someday, and someday was killing me, not dramatically, quietly, one postponed moment at a time. Here's what nobody tells you. Regret doesn't announce itself. It accumulates, slowly, in small moments you don't think matter at the time. It's not the big dramatic failures that haunt you. It's the Tuesday afternoon you chose work over a walk with your wife, the phone call you were too busy to take, the birthday party you missed, the I love you didn't say because you assumed there'd be another chance. So let me tell you what I actually regret. Not the deals I didn't close, not the titles I didn't earn, not the money I didn't make. None of that matters now. None of it ever did. The moments. I regret not taking my daughter to Paris when she asked. She was 16. She'd been studying French in school and wanted to see the Louvre. She showed me pictures, made a whole itinerary. I said we'd go later, after her college applications, after work calmed down, after I closed this one big deal. She's 43 now. She lives in Seattle with her own family. We never went to Paris. She doesn't mention it anymore, but I think about it all the time. I regret not calling my brother more. We talked maybe twice a year. Birthdays, Christmas, small talk, surface level. How's work? Good. How's yours? Good. We'd promised to visit, to get together, to really catch up, but we never did. There was always something, always a reason. He died 4 years ago. Heart attack. Quick. I spoke at his funeral and realized I didn't know him. Not really. Not the adult version of him. I knew the kid he was. But the man, the father, the person he became, I missed all of it. And I never told him I admired him. I never told him I thought about him. I just assumed he knew. I regret working through my son's baseball games. Not all of them, but most of them. I'd sit in the car in the parking lot, laptop open, on calls. I could hear the crowd cheering, the crack of the bat. I'd look up occasionally, wave if he looked my way, but I wasn't there. Not really. I told myself I was providing for him, that the work I was doing was for his future, for his college fund, for his opportunities. But he didn't need my money. He needed me in the stands. He needed me to see him, to cheer for him, to be present. He's 38 now. He doesn't talk about baseball anymore, but I know he remembers. I can see it in the way he looks at me sometimes, like there's a distance neither of us knows how to cross. I regret not telling my wife I loved her more often. Not the big declarations, not the anniversary speeches, the small ones, the Tuesday mornings, the random afternoons, the moments when nothing special was happening but everything mattered. She'd be making coffee in the kitchen, light coming through the window, and I'd be thinking about a meeting or an email. I regret not stopping, not putting my hands on her shoulders, not saying, "I'm glad you're here." I regret not sitting with her instead of rushing to my laptop. I regret not holding her hand more, not asking how she really felt instead of just assuming, not listening when she talked about her day, not being curious about her life. She's gone now. 5 years. Cancer. I had 6 months with her after the diagnosis, and in those 6 months, I finally showed up. I finally listened. I finally held her hand, but it wasn't enough. You can't compress a lifetime of presence into 6 months. You can't make up for decades of distraction with a few months of attention. She was kind about it. She always was. But I know what I missed. And I'd give anything for one more Tuesday morning, one more unremarkable afternoon, one more chance to just be there. I regret not protecting my health earlier. Not because I wanted to live longer, but because I wanted to feel alive while I was here. I spent decades tired, stressed, running on coffee and adrenaline, ignoring the signals my body sent, the headaches, the tight chest, the exhaustion. I told myself it was temporary, that I'd rest later, that I'd take care of myself when things slowed down. But things never slowed down. And now my body is paying the price, the medications, the restrictions. The energy I don't have. I'm not dying, but I'm not living either. Not fully. And it didn't have to be this way. I regret saying yes to things that drained me and no to things that might have filled me. The work events I attended out of obligation. The committees I joined because it looked good. The projects I took on because I couldn't disappoint people. And the no's. The trips I declined. The invitations I turned down. The experiences I postponed. I regret choosing impressive over meaningful every single time. I regret building a resume instead of a life. Not the career, not the achievements, not the recognition, the people, the presence, the small, unremarkable moments that actually make up a life. Those are the things I regret losing. The Sunday mornings, the lazy conversations, the laughter over nothing, the quiet moments of just being together. And here's the part that hurts most. I didn't lose them to tragedy. I didn't lose them to circumstances beyond my control. I lost them to choices. My choices. I chose work over presence, achievement over connection, someday over now, again and again and again. And you know what's haunting? I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was being responsible, practical, smart. I thought I was building a foundation for a life I'd live later. But there is no later. There's only now. And I spent my now building a future that never came. So what actually matters? It's embarrassingly simple. So simple that we dismiss it. We think, it can't be that easy. But it is. People matter. Not crowds, not followers, not contacts in your phone, not networking connections. The 5 or 6 people you'd call in the middle of the night. The ones who know you, really know you. The ones you can be quiet with. The ones who see you at your worst and stay anyway. Those people. They're everything. Meaning matters. Doing something that feels like it's worth your time. It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to change the world. It just has to matter to you. It could be teaching, creating, helping, building. It could be small and local and unimpressive to everyone else. But if it fills you, if it makes you feel like your time meant something, that's enough. And presence matters. Being where you are when you're there, not half there. Not distracted by your phone or your thoughts or your worries about tomorrow. Fully there, eyes up, ears open, heart engaged, present for the conversation, present for the meal, present for the sunset, present for the life that's happening right now while you're planning for later. And experiences matter, not things, not status symbols, not the stuff you accumulate, moments you'll remember on your deathbed, the laugh that made your stomach hurt, the sunset that stopped you in your tracks. The conversation that changed how you see something. The trip that opened your eyes. The risk that paid off not in money but in memory. Here's what I'd do differently if I could go back. And listen, because this is the part that might actually save you. I'd say no more. Not to everything. I'm not suggesting you become selfish or irresponsible, but to the things that didn't align with what I actually cared about. The meetings that were status updates disguised as collaboration. The obligations that drained me without adding value to anyone. The expectations that weren't mine to carry. The guilt that kept me saying yes when every fiber of my being wanted to say no. I'd say yes more to small things. Coffee with a friend who wanted to catch up. A walk with no destination and no agenda. Sitting on the porch doing nothing. Reading in the afternoon. Taking the long way home. These sound trivial. They're not. They're the texture of life. They're what you remember. They're what fills you. I'd call my parents every week. Not out of guilt. Not because it was on some list of things good sons do. Just to hear their voices while I still could. To ask them questions. To learn their stories. To tell them mine. To bridge the distance that builds between generations when we're all too busy to connect. They're gone now. Both of them. And I have so many questions I never asked. So many stories I never heard. So many things I never said. I'd protect my health like it was the foundation of everything else. Because it is. You can't enjoy your success if you're too exhausted to feel it. You can't be present if your body is screaming at you to rest. You can't make memories if you're too sick to participate. Health isn't vanity. It's not optional. It's the platform everything else stands on. Sleep matters. Exercise matters. Food matters. Stress management matters. Not because you're trying to live forever, but because you're trying to live fully now. I'd stop waiting for permission to live. From my boss. From society. From some imaginary future version of myself who finally made it. I'd realize that this, right now, is it. This is the life. Not the one I'm working toward. Not the one that starts after the promotion or the raise or the milestone. The one I'm in. Right now. Today. This moment. This is it. And I'd stop lying to myself about time. I'd stop pretending I have more than I do. I'd stop acting like there's always tomorrow for the things that matter. Because sometimes there isn't. Sometimes today is all you get. Sometimes the chance you're waiting for never comes back around. Sometimes the person you're planning to call doesn't answer anymore. Sometimes later never arrives. I'm not saying quit your job and abandon responsibility. I'm not suggesting you ignore your obligations or burn your life down. I'm saying stop pretending that responsibility means ignoring everything else. You can work hard and still show up for dinner. You can be ambitious and still call your mom. You can build a career and still take the trip. You can chase your goals and still be present for the people you love. It's not one or the other. It's both. But only if you decide that both matter. Only if you stop treating presence as something you'll get to later. Because here's what I've learned. Balance isn't real. Not in the way we think about it. It's not some perfect state where everything gets equal time and attention. It's a series of choices. Small choices. Every day. Every hour. Do I answer this email or play with my kid? Do I take this call or go for a walk? Do I work late or come home? And the answer isn't always the same. Sometimes work needs you. Sometimes life needs you. But over time, over years, the pattern matters. And my pattern was always work. Always later. Always someday. What's yours? I don't have much time left. I know that now. The doctors don't say it outright. But I can read between the lines. I can feel it. My body is tired, and I'm okay with it. I've made my peace. But you still have time. Not as much as you think. None of us do. But enough. Enough to make a different choice today. Enough to pick up the phone. Enough to say the thing you've been putting off. Enough to book the trip. Enough to have the conversation. Enough to stop living in someday and start living in now. Because someday isn't a day of the week. It's not on any calendar. It's the place dreams go to die. It's the excuse we use to avoid the discomfort of living fully right now. It's the lie we tell ourselves to justify waiting. And I'm telling you, from the other side of a life spent waiting, don't wait. Don't put it off. Don't assume you'll have another chance. You might, but you might not. And you don't want to be 82, sitting in a quiet house, surrounded by achievements that mean nothing, mourning the moments you traded for things that never filled you. So here's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Leave a comment and tell me one thing you're going to do differently. Not someday. This week. Maybe it's calling someone. Maybe it's saying no to something that drains you. Maybe it's saying yes to something that scares you. It doesn't have to be big. Just real. Just honest. Just yours. And if this story meant something to you, if it made you think, if it changed even one thing about how you see your time, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your friend who's drowning in work. Your sister who keeps putting off her dreams. Your dad who never takes a break. Because we're all running out of time. But we're not out yet. And maybe, if enough of us wake up, we can stop trading our lives for things that don't matter. We can stop waiting for someday. We can start living now. I'm 82. I can't get my time back. But you can still choose what you do with yours. So what are you going to do with it?